Well, good morning, everybody. I want to start off again today with some satellite data. I just find this to be a good way to begin a briefing, just to think through where the pattern currently sits so I can understand any changes. And of course, we were watching the deep low that was moving through parts of Montana into the southern Canadian prairie, and just keeping an eye on the extent of that dry slot. That was a kind of a topic we covered yesterday. Now, this system, as the sun set, did put down a pretty elongated front that came all the way down here to Texas and New Mexico. And some of the storms that popped on that last night did an interesting thing. They abandoned their updrafts, so it's kind of neat. The anvils just kind of went up deep into the atmosphere and just passed on off to their own spots and weren't much. Watch, take a look at this. See the storms kind of trying to pop here down in Oklahoma and Texas. They're beautiful to view when they do this. And then the storms just decay and the anvils float away, just deep into the upper atmosphere, upper troposphere at least. On the backside of this, though, if we go back, you do see there was some wildfire smoke that was coming out of parts of Arizona. But around the backside of the slow, there were some decent snows in the Rocky Mountains. We had some heavy rains fill in some of those drier gaps. And just wanted to kind of bring this first system as it starts to move farther to the east to a sort of a conclusion after what we've been watching earlier this week. The cloud cover, that's off to the east, this still kind of is the remnant low pressure around what was earlier in this week a potential tropical cyclone number 8. It's been kind of interesting to listen to the debate in the meteorological community about why this one didn't get named. Ultimately, that is the decision of the National Hurricane Center, and whatever they do goes. So just kind of an interesting thing to look at here. But total rainfall this past week looks like this through this morning. And what I find interesting about this particular map is where these last few systems have gone. So remember, we're not yet a week away from Francine's flooding here. We had the flooding from potential tropical cyclone 8 along the Carolina coast. It did try to spread some of that rain farther into the north and east. And this is actually from two different large low-pressure systems that move through the Pacific Northwest and then drag their fronts out into the plains. We've had a lot of hail out of this and some straight-line wind damage, as you saw earlier in the week in the forecast videos. But it's about where this moisture needs to get, you know what I'm saying? So we've filled in some of the holes. There are still some extremely large ones that need to be grabbing some precipitation. So take a look at the Northeast, or take a look at this stripe here from central Kentucky and Tennessee back into North Carolina and clipping northern Georgia. You know, that whole area had been missed. And don't forget, at one point we were forecasting for this section of northern Georgia, to 4 to 5 inches of rain from Francine, and it missed and went more into Alabama. A large area from Texas through Oklahoma into Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. This whole region is very dry and soil moisture. We're looking in depth at that tomorrow. But the whole of the upper Midwest has been very dry as well. Southwest quite dry. Same thing for parts of the Columbia Basin here. And it goes back 30 days. You go all the way back, into August, and we can see several areas with single digits indicating, a major lack of precipitation. And even over the last 60 days, we've developed some pretty sizable holes in the midsection of the United States here, where we've just kind of ran out of, of what happened in, May, June, and July, which was a lot of thunderstorm activity in this region. So I just find these maps instructive to kind of look in sequence here. So is anything going to help with this whole region that's been dry for now, getting on 2 months? Very, very dry. In terms of the Red River of the South, I don't have much. In terms of parts of the Midwest, I do think we see some better rains, but it's going to be more focused kind of in the central and western Corn Belt versus the eastern Corn Belt. And what's going to make that possible is what this low that's spinning off the California coast right now is going to do eventually as this flow kind of stalls out an upper level system right over the top of the central United States. Now, before we get there, though, we actually have the momentum of two different lows, the southern one here, the northern one there, that's going to increase the severe weather threat out ahead of this. And the Storm Prediction Center's got a pretty broad area that stretches from kind of southwestern parts of Ontario through, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, Missouri, back into Kansas, down into Oklahoma here, where we have a large region of slight risk for severe storms today. Could have a few other areas of storms as well. And tomorrow, we're going to watch that chance for storms run into southern Michigan, this part of Indiana and Ohio, and Illinois. We would love to have the rain out of this. As we get out there to day 3, of course, this being, this would be Saturday, right? Yeah, Saturday. We're going to watch down here in New Mexico and Texas, and I'll show you what's going on here. This is actually where the upper level low is coming out. There's flow coming in like this, and it's going to actually produce an interesting boundary here right on the New Mexico and Texas border. So high-res NAM kind of grabs some of this, so let's go and have a look at it as we play through the rest of the morning this morning. We'll get into this evening, and that's the boundary on which we're going to watch for these stronger storms tonight. You can still see wrapping around the upper level low, California, parts of Nevada, better chances of rain, some mountain snow there. Then as we play into Friday morning through Friday midday, that boundary sneaks right, there it is, right through here in Michigan. And this clips parts of Indiana and Illinois. And then just take a look. So there's a upper level circulation here and there, and the front ride's right over the top of it. And so as I play here Friday night into Saturday morning, you can see how the rain's kind of going around those two features. And I think the high-res NAM's got a pretty good idea on where this is. And in the upper levels of the atmosphere, you'll be able to see it as well. So as I play you through Thursday into Friday, there it is. There's the ridge, there's the trough, and the intermix between the two is where we have good rising motion. Excuse me. Now that trough, the one that's in California, you can see is just going to sit here for a couple of days. And big ridge builds into the west, so the heat's going to come back. The system that had been along the East Coast with all the cloud cover moves out. Another deep low, deep trough is in the Gulf of Alaska and over Alaska. We can just play this through the end of next week. And what I'll be watching at that point, about the 27th, 28th, 29th, is something down here. Some sort of tropical feature to be coming out of that Caribbean gyre, which we spent time talking about earlier this week. So those are the big features I'm watching to finish up 1 month, and we're going to take a look at October, excuse me, in a few moments here. But let's get a look at some of the forecast data. This is the newest forecast from the WPC. You can see that as that trough elongates and sits here, we've got decent chances of, better than an inch of rain, according to the WPC. Do I think some of this is over-predicted? I do, only because the underlying conditions here, the soil is very dry. There's no local source of water happening in this, this area from evapotranspiration, given how dry things have been as of late. So that's going to be the system that stalls out here. And then again, about a week, a little more than a week from now, we need to be paying attention to whatever comes out of the Caribbean into the Gulf of Mexico. But during the next 7 days, we go over quite dry from the northwest all the way through the northern plains. The southwest stays a bit drier as well, except for where that moisture comes into this area in the next couple of days. And a lot of our cotton belt down here in the southeast is not going to pick up much precipitation out of this either. But what we're going to be waiting on for that is going to be the development of this, potential system here. This is their early morning update. Did they do a new one? Yeah, there's the new 7:42 update a.m. This would be East Coast time. 40% chance is what they've taken this up to. And if we look out here and just kind of focus in on the United States, the Gulf, and the Caribbean, we can see that the model probabilities of this developing into a tropical depression continue to stay somewhere in that 50 to 80% range over the next 10 days. So what I thought we would do here is we'd walk through some of the forecast models that go out 10 days or more and have a good look at what their precipitation totals are going to look like. So let's get a refresh on this. This is the national blend of models. So let's play this through the rest of the day on Thursday into Friday. We're getting into Saturday. There it is, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Saturday, Sunday, Monday. That's when we get our best chances of rain in the Western Corn Belt. We're then going to watch, this is next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, for some chances here. But you can see the national blended models attempts to take whatever is coming out of the Caribbean toward Florida by the 26th, 27th, 28th. So that's one model solution for this. Let's go to the artificial intelligence. 0Z run. So let's see where it pulls in the moisture. There it is. This would be getting, again, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So that's this round. And then we're going to pay attention next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the new AIFS. It's a little bit later in the forecast, but it is also dragging whatever is coming out of the Caribbean into Florida. Now, yesterday, if you would have seen the, what was it, the 60 and then I think the 12Z did it too. They took this thing right up the gut of the Mississippi, just a little bit west to it. So we're still very uncertain on where this is going. Let's go to the GFS next. Again, let's see the timing on the moisture in the midsection of the country. There it is, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Sorry, we're flipping back and forth. Got a new model run that just came in. Sorry. Here we go. Now it's consistent. So again, that would be Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Now we're out to Tuesday, so let's see where it's going to do this. Okay, now it's way over here, coming in like that, but even getting into the northeast. Very interesting precip pattern on the GFS 6Z run. Let's now go to the European. Now the high-res European, HRES, that's what that stands for, only goes out 10 days. So we see the same feature in the Midwest, so Saturday, Sunday, Monday, for the chances of rain getting here all the way over to parts of Indiana and Ohio, hopefully. And then we're going to watch to see what it does late in the time period. See, it's not. The European model by the 28th, that would be next Saturday, is still not dragging this thing out, bringing it toward the U.S. coast. Now, we only run out 10 days on this, and you saw that most of those models, it's well into week 2. Now I can show you the ensembles. So this would be the 51-member ensemble from the European model. And we've got the same features. You can just, as I rock back and forth, see the weekend precipitation into early next week in the midsection of the country. And you're going to watch it start to fill everything in. This is an ensemble blend. So it's got the heaviest corridor of rain from whatever the tropical system is, I guess, there. And we'll finally finish up with the GFS ensemble. Let's get a refresh on that. Okay, still the 0Z. As we play this forward. Yeah, I mean, it's still got the focus of the heaviest rain here. Okay, with all of that said, don't forget, it's cold enough on the backside for some snow. And what you're going to notice is in Colorado, when the rain is trying to spread out here into the central U.S., getting into the central Corn Belt, western Corn Belt, some snow in the Colorado Rockies is possible as well. And we're going to have a pretty windy setup with this low that's going through the upper Midwest. In fact, let's get a full refresh. There we go. 6Z run just came in as I started. Notice the stronger winds on Saturday in the plains, maybe some gusts up here over 40. And remember, the 6Z tried to take whatever that thing was and drag it right through this area. So I see that over the next couple of weeks, wherever this goes, it's going to have the potential for developing and possibly have some stronger winds with it. Otherwise, the plains get a bit windy and the Canadian prairie gets a bit windy overall as each of these systems kind of rolls through. Let's take it over to the probability side of this. Over the next 10 days, the European model shows, just like we looked at, drier in the the northern plains and the northwest and southwest. But the European model over the next 10 days is drier here until it attempts to pull something in that could come up the coast here. Now I'm going to flip this over. Yeah, I got the new model run in. So let's go back to the 0Z, which goes out pretty far. And let's just take it all the way out to October 1. And again, just need to keep an eye on this corridor for the potential for that heaviest rainfall. Remember, a lot of this is coming this weekend into early next week, like Sunday into Monday. The GFS on the wetter side of things, that's the 10-day outlook. And if we just add a few more days onto the end of this, got to keep an eye on this area. That's the latest I think I have on where this could possibly go. Okay, from there, week 2 models, right up across the top here. So the AI model, very aggressive on taking whatever this thing becomes and putting it right over Florida. You can see the European spread, very similar to the GFS, although the GFS is a bit farther to the south and east. But just to show you focused in on the European model, that is the week 2 precipitation anomalies. Okay, temperature-wise, frost map first, mostly in the west. Here's our high temperatures today. Let's refresh that real quick. Look at the heat that's down here in Oklahoma. It feels like midsummer across this section of the country. Cool in California. A lot of heat on Friday, getting into Saturday. Very hot weekend in the midsection of the country here from the Great Lakes down to Texas. But that's going to cool off next week. This is Sunday into Monday. That's when it's raining in this area. Okay, the end of the rain. And don't forget, on Sunday is when we expect to get some snow at high elevation here in the Rockies. So this is next Tuesday and Wednesday. And at that point, we got another ridge building back into the western United States. And that's why we can see out there day 5 through 10 in both models is still quite warm in the western United States. It is interesting to note that both of the models, as we finish September and start October, are bringing in some cooler air into the central U.S., which means we're going to have to start talking about maybe the first week of October as having some risk of frost, possibly across the northern tier of the plains into the Great Lakes. That'll be the time frame over which we're going to watch that. Okay, from this point going forward, I think we're going to run out of kind of our dialogue on the WPO. So as you note, it's going to make another positive run, and then it's going to start to head back down toward average numbers as we get out there to the end of this month. So we had been watching for that to be a possible transition. At the same time we finish up this month, the MJO is going to leave this kind of phase 5 and 6 where it's been and move over toward phases 8 and 1. Now phase 8 and 1 are not common phases whenever there is a building La Niña. So you're going to look and go, well, that's what phase 8 would give us, deep western U.S. troughs, which could just maybe give us another couple of days of this pattern we've been in, right? But phase 1, is a complete, it rolls us all through and brings a big ridge into the southwest. And so I don't want to get too hung up on this, but I would just say that I mentioned in early October, the temperatures are breaking down, right? So instead of having a large ridge that's living here, we now see a trough of low pressure. And that's why I'm just saying that first week of October, I want to start having a discussion about the risk of having a frost in this area if these things become a more dominant piece of this pattern. So just know, I know that's still a few weeks away for us, a couple weeks away for us, but we need to be having that discussion now so we know what to be on the lookout for. But just thinking about La Niña, we now have ocean temperatures in the middle of the equatorial Pacific, Niña region 3.4. They are now below a full degree C, according to the CDAS data. And this is this cool tongue that showed up here after some stronger trade winds as of late. Now, what's interesting about the forecast is I mentioned the beginning, that first few days of October, maybe that first 4 or 5 days, I'm concerned about the risk of some colder air. But beyond that, the models are attempting to, really just pull in quite a bit of warmth back. So this would be, the 3rd through the 9th and the 10th through the 16th. And while the CFSV2 just kind of gives us maybe a broader overview, I'll be honest with you, when I look at this map, I step back and kind of blur my eyes a little bit just to look for some patterns. But it is being echoed also by the extended outlook for October from the European, which is drier. And as you see here, that's been a very consistent part of its forecast and overall mild. So I know you're going, wait a minute, you just said that there's the chance for, yeah, I did. I think we could have brief interludes of colder air with this pattern. But this is looking at a 30-day time period. And overall, it's going to favor more mild conditions, mainly because of the La Niña influence going into October. La Niña starts to really drop temperatures off in December, okay? Now, tomorrow, we're going to look at the new long-range data from the CPC. They just released it. But right now, I just want to kind of think about a couple of other things internationally. And you ask a lot of times about, Ukraine and Russia. And I bring it up, once or twice a week. I tried to bring it up a lot in the summer because I thought it was a big factor. And look, over the last 60 days, parts of Ukraine, Belarus, Western Russia here, very, very dry. Their moisture deficits are huge. Some places 3, 4, 5 inches drier than normal in this area. NDVI values are extremely low in this area, and the drought there it seems to not be enough to make any sort of a headline globally. And we've been covering it and showing it. It's been hot and dry and still not much of a discussion. So a lot of attention is being put back on South America. By the way, the NDVI, look how low they are, okay? So a lot of it's been on South America, where we still have a lot of wildfire smoke. This is just a view yesterday of that wildfire smoke. And, the latest forecast continues to show more frontal boundaries soaking parts of southern Brazil into Uruguay and also parts of Argentina. But the broader picture with South America still looks the same as it has in each one of these runs, except for the one I showed you on Monday. And that is, it's gone back over to a wetter pattern through the month of October, through some of the kind of region here that would want all of this rain to get a crop started. So we'll watch this forecast and just look for consistency in it, which it's given us, and we'll just see if this continues to pan out. But with that, I'll wrap it up here. Tell you all to have a good rest of your day, and we'll talk again one more time this week tomorrow morning. Thanks.